Hey everybody, this is Mischievous Heathen here, and this is a discussion with David Sarchet. Just waiting for him to show up, and we will be good to go. So, in the meantime, you get to hear me vamp about something. Actually, let me try to send. Let me see if I can send it to him this way, just in case I get Google Plussed and get all bugged out or something. Do 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 do. And I'm on Google Plus. Don't fail me now. All right, so I just sent him another invite. We'll try it two ways, so that way he has two options. But basically, he reached out to me on a comment thread on my video with me talking to another Christian, and he asked me for a hangout. And if you read the thread, he said he wanted to keep the topic open, although it's he wanted to talk about religious stuff. So I said, okay, well, why wouldn't I, right? So I'm just waiting for him to show up. Sorry to people that are waiting and watching. Yeah, he had a bit of an issue this morning. He said he had something he had to do, so we were going to do it like at 10 in the morning, and he had to postpone for a couple hours. So I hope he pops in. If not, then I will probably end this thing in about 5 minutes because, quite frankly, if I'm going to be sitting on my ass all day, I'd rather be playing video games. So, come on, David. The Asian sensation, fanatical for Jesus. Where are you? I haven't received any messages from him either, so I don't exactly know where he's at. What I can do for the viewers is sing. Oh, the musical stylings of Mischievous Heathen. Yeah, got another viewer off of that. Come on, David. Come on. Well, in the meantime, I can give everyone my reasons on why I think Batman vs. Superman was a good movie. I actually did like that movie. Come on, David. This is just getting really awkward because I'm sort of sitting here talking to myself and a few other people that are watching, and they're probably sitting there saying, "What the fuck?" And just like I'm sitting here saying, "What the fuck?" Waiting for something cool to happen, waiting for all the fireworks. So, but when I talked to I talked to the pre-supper named Ronald Grogan, and he was a real nice guy, and he wasn't your typical. Even though he was a pre-supper, he didn't quite fit into the whole Sci 10 model. He was willing to discuss like biblical scripture and that kind of thing. I got a message. Maybe that's him. However, that is not him. So from that, David reached out to me, and who is also a known pre-supper, and wanted to have this conversation. And from what I know of David, he's had some issues in the past, so I really hope that he's doing well. But one of the complaints that I got from somebody in the comment section is it said this was a dull conversation. It was just two guys exchanging ideas, and I should have, hit him harder with some stuff. And the title of the first of all, if anyone that knows me, that speaks to me in real life, knows that I'm not that big of a ball buster when it comes to discussing this stuff. And the reason being is because it really doesn't get you anywhere. But I really wanted to understand where Ronald was coming from, and that's more important to me than trying to trap him in these gotcha situations, right? I think we all know by now how bad the precept is, so I don't really, if I really have to get that involved in it, it's like, it's awful. Um, so much like that conversation, right? It was a conversation with Ronald Grogan, not a debate with Ronald Grogan or an argument with Ronald Grogan. And just like if David shows up, this will be a conversation with David. So I don't know how this is going to go, whether good or bad. I don't anticipate a big argument or a big conflict. I think once we find a common ground, I think we'll be okay, assuming he shows up. So he's got another few minutes, and then I'm gonna call it because I sent him 2 invites already. So let me see if I can try one more time. One more time. Do 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 do. Come on, David. You're disappointing people. He's disappointing people. Come on. Let me see here. David Sarchet. Hangout is live, waiting on you. All right, trying this one more time, folks. One more time. Look, and the ironic thing is there are actually more viewers now, which is pretty depressing because absolutely nothing is happening right now. And if you're just jumping in the Hangout, David Sarchet has been a no-show. So I don't know what to do, but I'm going to give him 4 more minutes, and then I'm going to call this room. I apologize for everyone that showed up if he doesn't. So it's back to internet porn and video games on my 4th of July weekend. Yeah. Do 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 do. I'd like to give a bit of a shout out to my friend Corey, who's watching me right now, expecting some fireworks, but there's really nothing happening right now. It's not very exciting at all. Come on in. Come on, David. You can do it, buddy. Maybe he had a problem with his phone because he doesn't have his laptop anymore. I think he said he was going to do it through his phone. So, David, come on in. Do 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 do. I'm getting messages out my ass right now, none of which are David. Good Lord. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that this many people watching because it is 4th of July weekend, and I assume everyone's eating fucking burgers and hot dogs and as somewhere in someone's backyard getting drunk fucking somewhere. Oh, I got a message. It's somehow, just so you know, for whatever reason, the messages come quicker on my phone. That's why I'm looking at my phone. He is saying, where's the message? That he's been waiting. Let me see. I sent it 3 times. So, all right, let me see. I'll try one more time. He's like, I'm literally sitting here by my phone right now, waiting for you to invite. Oh, great. Do 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 Boom. All right, I'm replying directly to his message, so hopefully he'll pop in because he has 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And quite frankly, playing video games is much more interesting to me. But, you know. We'll see how long his phone has. Maybe he has an iPhone or something and the thing's taking forever. Come on, David. David has a tendency to get really close to his camera. I wonder if he'll do that. He gets like scaringly close sometimes. Come on, David. I just sent it one more time. This is actually in the reply section in my video, so you guys, whoever's watching, can actually see that I did send it. So I don't know quite what else to do unless I'm just completely inept to Google Plus Hangouts, which is a fairly accurate statement, actually. I'm not very good at it at all. I wonder if like he's just not seeing it, and there's like some weird Google Plus shit happening right now. Come on! I'm at my 10-minute mark already. This is fucking ridiculous. Oh. All right, so I'm only. Hey! He's here! And he sounds completely robotic.
I do?
A little bit. Hello?
Oh, I'm talking on LG tone. Hello?
How's it going? Your frame rate is complete shit right now.
Yeah, because I'm on my phone.
Okay. If you don't mind being, you know how it still frames? It may still frame you in not the most flattering of, facial expressions. If you're comfortable with that, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
with that.
Oh, okay. All right. But you are cutting out, though. Your audio is pretty awful. You seem okay for like a few seconds, and then like you just kind of your sound gets weird.
Let me try turning off my sound.
Let me put it to you this way: your voice would sound great in some sort of EDM like rave music.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because you're all, like that kind of thing.
Even after I turn my LG tone off?
Oh, that's better.
Oh, okay. So it's probably that then.
All right. Yeah, if I don't hear you, I'll just, ask you what. So, all right, David. So I was just kind of vamping. I actually sent it like now 4 times. I guess it's a Google Plus thing because it's been weird, but so I'm glad you finally got it. But it for whatever reason it wasn't going through. So, but I was just sort of recapping. What was that? Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me? Hello?
There you are. You're back.
Okay.
I was just saying that I was kind of vamping in the meantime while you were gone, filling time. I gave a sort of like recap, like you asked to do a hangout from the Ronald Grogan video, but we didn't really have a topic. Although you mentioned that you wanted to talk, about religious stuffs and not like comic books or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about that, but I don't really know much about comic books.
Oh, okay, because we were talking about the Bat and the Sun stuff. That's why. So, but
yeah.
So, all right. Well, you said you want. I don't know. You said you want to keep the topic open, but I literally have no sort of. I have no anchor here, so I'm kind of relying on you. Is there anything specific you wanted to touch upon, or anything in the video, maybe, or?
Um, well, I don't know. I was like, I didn't really get a chance to like really hear everything you guys are talking about because I was like doing other stuff at the same. So I didn't hear like talking about. I mean, I thought the conversation went really well. I saw that comment where someone on there said you should have been harder on him or whatever. But yeah, I thought the conversation was.
You know what? I figured you
From what
don't.
I heard.
Yeah. Well, you don't need another two people arguing for an hour. I mean, it's fun, but there's two dozen, three dozen, 100 of the people that want to argue, that can argue, right? So where does that really
Yeah,
get you at the end of the day? And my goal,
and
when
no,
I kind of wanted to understand where he was coming from more than anything. So
yeah, that makes sense. Um, I don't know, like I my stance on pre-sub has like kind of changed a little bit from like because I started reading. I don't know if you heard of Vincent Chung, but like, he's a student of Gordon Clark. So like I kind of take viewpoints from both Van Til and Gordon Clark, and so I disagree with a lot of like the pre-suppers that you see out there like on YouTube and stuff like that. Not anything major.
is there any major differences that I mean, the core of it's the same, right? So you're
Yeah,
you're
the
you
core
know
of it's the same. I would disagree. Like I remember I was watching. What was it? I think it was what was that called?
I don't know, you're breaking up.
I was watching this video, like the guy's a radio host, like I guess like he calls it Dogma Radio or
Oh,
something like
dogma
that.
debate. Is
Yeah,
it?
Dogma Debate.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
something Smalley. I forgot his last or his first name.
yeah, I forgot to, but I was watching that. He had Side 10 and Eric Hovind on there, and at the end he asked Side 10 a question, um, about free will, and I hated his answer. He says something like pretty much he
Yeah.
said predestinate. He said people are predestined and yet have free will, and I groaned when I heard that because Gordon Clark made a perfect point about that. He says that like Van Til calls it a paradox, but Gordon Clark says all paradox is a seeming contradiction that no man doesn't have free will. Like,
Yeah. What you're talking about.
I really, nowhere in the Bible do you see the Bible doesn't talk about man having free will. So this concept of free will or libertarian free will is actually a pagan concept. It's nowhere in the Bible.
I think the interview you're talking about that was the interview right after the Matt Dillahunty Side 10 debate. They had
Oh,
a
was
dogma
it?
debate show like right after. Yeah, it's on the same stage and everything. So
Well, I found out.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it popped up on my news feed. I don't really pay that much attention to Side 10 because I don't really like him. I like James White better, but um, it just for
Side 10.
some reason. What?
Sorry, I can't tell if you stop talking or if you cut out sometimes. So I'm not
Yeah,
trying to jump in on you. I just can't tell. Like I don't know if there's a latency thing or something. But I was gonna say,
it probably there's probably a delay.
what happened to your laptop?
Um, which one?
I don't know. You on your old channel, you had a laptop, didn't you, or a computer or something?
Yeah, I used to have a MacBook Pro, but I don't know. I mean, like I was going on my way to school, and I had my MacBook Pro in my backpack, and I was talking on the phone, and I was waiting for the bus. And when the bus showed up, I got on the bus, and by the time I got to school, I realized I didn't have my backpack with me. So like
Ah,
the bus, it was
yeah.
so someone.
You're cutting out hard, dude. Like I don't know. Um, the are you are you planning on doing like a ton more videos or hangouts? Because you're probably gonna have a very difficult time.
Yeah, I do. Well, the videos I make come out all right, but
Right.
the Google Hangout, like I do, I am planning on getting another laptop. I just need to save up some money, and then I'll get a laptop. I don't know like what kind of like I'm not a PC person, so I don't know what good
Oh
PCs
shit, we're ending this hangout right now, buddy.
are.
Oh, he's a fucking Mac guy. Fuck this shit. I'm out, dude. I'm leaving. Oh, go. I had a theory
Yeah,
that,
I
that,
like.
that I had a theory that you were doing this off an iPhone, and that's why you couldn't connect properly or some shit. Like that was
No,
my
I
theory.
actually have an Android.
Oh, okay.
Why it's fucking up.
Yeah, they're like they're like difficult school children Android phones. But so okay, so at least you're here to say that you're not a cyclone, right? Which is a good thing because and I told
Not at
Ronald
all.
this Rogan I said Cy 10 as a preceptor is not the guy you want to be your representative, right? There are better guys out there. Um,
I definitely agree. Like I think right now, I mean, Greg Bonson was a good pre-supper, but I think right now, I think the best one we have is James White.
well, let me ask you a question.
On
Um, you were not you were already a believer when you heard of precept or you learned it, or did the precept sort of hear it and then you were
I,
convinced by that?
no, I was yeah, I was first introduced to Reformed theology or quote unquote Calvinism first, and then after that I was introduced to precept.
And when you heard the precept for the first time, what did you think? I mean, well, how was it? Let me backtrack. How was it portrayed to you? So when you heard it, was it part of a video, or the reason I'm asking is because
Oh, I,
the reason I'm asking is because on Cy 10's DVD, he clearly says the purpose of this is to shut the mouth of the non-believer. So
yeah,
he's not
I never.
trying to create a compelling position or argument.
Yeah, I never seen his DVD. Like I have no desire to get it. But no, my old pastor actually introduced it to me. And he just said it's a more consistent apologetic method that goes along with the teachings of what the scriptures plainly teach. And he didn't tell me that the purpose of it is to close the mouths of the unbeliever. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's I mean that he like that's not anything any true reformed Christian would want to do. We're open to discussion, and he told me once that you do not know what you truly believe until you study the very best arguments against what you currently believe. And I to heart. So I mean,
You've spoken to a few atheists online in the past. What
yeah,
do you find
I
to be
spoke.
the most common objection? Or like, for example, I know the reason why I don't find the precept very compelling, right? But
Yeah.
what are some of the more common objections you get to the precept? Not, I'm not saying
Well,
that for you they're valid. I'm just saying, what do you hear a lot of?
what are the that I hear? Um, I'm trying to think. It's been a while since I've actually like spoke. I only spoke really to read it, just a few. But I don't know, I've heard that it doesn't. I heard that doesn't really get anywhere. Like yeah, I heard that's um. I've heard atheists tell me this, like talking about worldviews because everybody has different worldviews and stuff like that. I've heard um I've heard like when I talk about morality with an atheist, they say they don't need to account for morality, and even if they can account for it, that still doesn't prove my God. Like I've heard like stuff like that pretty much. Those are the three most common arguments.
Okay, and I hope your mic holds out for this, but did you want to at least because some of that went robotic, dude. Like I said, I can if you when you listen back to this, you can take clips of you speaking, and if you mix it into an EDM song, it would be awesome. But it
That's
would.
funny.
um, so okay, so did you want to sort of give us, and people listening, kind of your version of the precept, at least in some, at least kind of give them a grounding of what you're talking about. That way, they don't
Okay.
just assume you're a cyclone, even though you said you weren't.
It's like I said, it's very like I mean, it's pretty much
You're
similar. I agree more until than with Gordon Clark. Like I mean, Romans chapter 1 clearly says that God has revealed Himself to all people in such a way that they are without excuse for not believing in Him. And what people do naturally is suppress that truth and unrighteousness because people love their sin and rebellion more than they love God. Actually, the Bible says that the natural and therefore that's why the natural man cannot turn to God on their own. Like it takes the work of the regenerating power of the Holy Spirit to change a person. So in essence, someone becoming a Christian is actually a miracle to be raised from the dead.
you're
That's
you're
how
breaking up.
that's how possible it is for someone to be a Christian or become a Christian on their own terms. And because their God needs to change their nature first. And I would say that rebellion or that suppression of the truth forms. It comes in either worshiping idols, as in other religions, or in flat out like atheism or whatever you want, or just like that. And I would say that come into a discussion with an unbeliever, and not just anybody, with an unbeliever, um, you have to. It comes down to pretty much a battle of worldviews because even like Van Til makes the perfect point. He says, even if I can't prove to you that history shows that there was a man named Jesus and he died and was and raised from the dead, from if that doesn't prove anything, all that you could say is, well, that just tells me that something really strange happened to someone 2,000 years ago. How does that have any relevance on me? See what I'm saying? So that's why the discussion of worldviews does come in, because your worldview affects the way you see things, affects your beliefs and everything. And so when we talk about it, it's when we talk about the two views, we have to see which we talk about which will um necessarily has the necessary preconditions for intelligibility and account for those things as logic, ethics, morality, existence, such and such, and yeah.
Wow.
And
Okay, that was a lot.
yeah,
I probably should have took more notes actually, because I just started taking notes at the end there because there's a lot of stuff in there. But so right, and all all of this rests on the presupposition that the Bible is the inerrant word of God. And right, is that correct?
yeah, we hold that the Bible is our ultimate authority. I mean, every worldview, in a sense, has a quote unquote ultimate authority. Like you cannot escape having a presupposition.
Well, an ultimate authority doesn't necessarily equal a presupposition, though.
Well, it's a starting point. That's what we're talking about. Like when we say
The
presupposition,
reason
we're just talking about.
the reason I don't like to use ultimate authority is because presuppers have a tendency to say use the word ultimate as absolute as they use the word ultimate equally or as synonymous with absolute as equally as synonymous with objective, and those aren't necessarily the same
How,
things. Now, if you want to
how about
if you want to say
how
you
about?
take
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I
How
you
about how about if I say every worldview has a necessary starting point that they
like
presuppose?
right. So you're taking the Bible as an axiom essentially,
Yes.
right? Okay. So I mean there are a lot of I see when I went across stuff like this and pre-suppers aren't the only one that do this, right? I mean, and I meet very few people that start from, let's say, what I would call a more rational or neutral standpoint and go where the evidence leads them and go, yeah, I studied a bunch of stuff and then I went where the evidence leads, and for me, I feel that the Bible is accurate or whatever the case may be. Um,
Yeah.
I'd
The
have
problem I have, the
I'd
problem
have
I have with
wait,
the problem I have with
wait, hold on a second.
classical. Oh,
Wait, hold on for 2 seconds
sorry.
because I want to get I want to try to touch on a couple of things.
Sorry, I
Yeah, yeah,
apologize.
yeah. No, 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 no worries at all, dude. No worries at all. So I totally had a brain fart. What was I saying? Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So you're not, so you pre-subbers aren't the only one that pre-survival, but I have a little more respect for. I take that back. That's the wrong word. I have a. It's easier for me to say to have a reasonable conversation with someone that has done that, because then you can sort of examine how they got to that point. Um, I know
Oh,
in
okay.
precept I know in precept there's no neutrality, right? You can't have a neutrality. But
Yeah.
so if you're going to take the Bible as an axiom, then the question would be, does it qualify as an axiom? Because if you're just choosing the Bible as an axiom arbitrarily, or you would say from the impossibility of the contrary, then that would have to be demonstrated. Because
Well, we believe
because
that God is God exists because of the impossibility of the contrary. But
right,
a misconception a lot of people have about pre-suppers is that we don't have evidence. We just bypass evidence, and we don't. But we talk about evidence. It's just that we don't put such a big emphasis on like physical evidence, like evidential apologists do, because, like I said, like even if I prove to you that
dude, I can't hear one word you're saying, but David, you cut out that whole you cut out for like 10 seconds, dude. You were a robot, so nobody heard anything.
okay, what was the last thing you heard me say then?
You said something about evidential apologetics, and then you went into Transformers mode.
Okay, I said the problem I have with evidential apologetics is like, well, first I'll just rephrase let's start over. Like a lot of misconceptions people have with pre-suppers a lot is that we don't ever talk about evidence. We don't have any like having evidence or anything like that. That's the way we talk about evidence, like physical evidence. We just I see your little dog. Anyway,
Come here.
yeah. I
Go
actually
ahead, keep
have two
going.
cats.
She's way
But
smaller than a cat.
oh no, really? um, shit, I just had a break now. Oh, she's cute.
Eh,
Can you actually see me, or is it just a picture?
I can see you.
Uh,
Come here, atheist
well,
dog.
when she, well, where's
My dog definitely suppresses suppresses her knowledge of God and her unrighteousness
oh,
because
really?
because she eats my food when I'm not looking. That little thief.
Here's my kitten.
Ah,
Yeah.
oh. I had a kitten
Well,
once and she fucking hated me.
this is Jade right here. She's trying to hide.
Oh, your frame rate just dropped completely, dude. I have no idea. But I get what you're. I
But
get. Oh, go ahead.
anyways, like I was saying, we do talk about evidence. It's just that we don't put like a huge emphasis on it like evidential apologists do, because I mean, like Van Til says, even if prove to the unbeliever that certain events in the Bible actually did happen historically, if we don't do anything about your worldview, if we don't talk about your worldview and change your worldview or whatever, then all you could say is, okay, that's something really strange that's happened that long ago. Oh well, that doesn't affect me. Like that has no relevance. Like so, you see what I'm saying? So your
No.
worldview will
Well, okay, let me put it this way.
in different lights.
Let me put it to you this way. When I hear, there's a few reasons. There's a few things. Well, let me backtrack because there's like so many things that I want to like talk about. Like I'm all over the place. So I, if you, yeah, go for it.
Another problem I have with evidentialists is, for instance, like Dr. William Lane Craig. I remember I was watching a debate with him one time, and he essentially admitted in the debate that his arguments, or his argument, I think he just uses one argument, but his arguments can be used. All he's doing is just defending a generic. That's it. And actually, his argument was actually created by a Muslim. But anyways,
So let me ask you a quick.
like I take the stance. I have no interest in defending a generic theism,
I understand that.
Christian theism.
So when you say an axiom, you say, okay, so I have the definition of axiom up, and there's basic. Well, there's several definitions of an axiom, but I assume you're using either the classic philosophical version or the modern logic version. The modern logic version says an axiom is simply a premise or starting point for reasoning, whether it is meaningful, and if so, what it means. For an axiom or any mathematical statement to be true is a central question. And the philosophy of mathematics, it's more of a mathematics thing. The one for
Hold on,
philosophy.
can you read that again? Because I kind of spaced out.
All right. Well, it says, okay, an axiom in modern logic, as used in modern logic, an axiom is simply a premise or starting point for reasoning. Whether it is meaningful, and if so, what it means for an axiom or any mathematical statement to be true is a central question. In the philosophy of mathematics, with modern mathematicians holding a multitude of different opinions. An axiom in classic philosophy is a statement that is so evident or well established that it is accepted without controversy or question. Thus, the axiom can be used as the premise or starting point for further reasoning or arguments, usually in logic or in mathematics. So I don't know, not that those are the only ones, but those would seem like the only ones of two that you would be using.
I'm not. Yeah, I think probably the second one sounds more correct.
Okay, so
Like, I haven't
so
really,
it says
honestly, I haven't really.
it's important because the axiom is supposed to be so evident or well established that it is accepted without controversy or question, which obviously is not
Yeah,
the case when it comes to God. So if your axiom is the Bible, right?
I would say that God, I mean,
Well,
is a
God,
necessary. God is like I would say that God is a necessary precondition. That's with if you take God out of the picture, then you have to account for those things I mentioned earlier somehow.
no,
And
you don't.
you
Well, you do, but you don't. So you don't get to say that if God doesn't exist, then it, it's an appeal that it's a fallacy somewhere. But so your claim is for these things.
like based on like your view, like how do you determine what's right and wrong or good and evil
No,
in
hold
the
on a
world?
second. Hold on a second. So
Okay.
you're jumping ahead a little bit. So if your axiom is the Bible, you there's obviously already a problem at the gate because it's not so evident or well established that it's accepted without controversy or question. Obviously, if I'm an atheist, irregardless if I'm suppressing it or not, it's not accepted, right?
Well, I would say that the only reason why you don't accept it is because you don't want to. Is because
But that's
like
irrelevant to the definition of axiom.
well, I don't know. Like I would say that God is has revealed himself because it says in Romans 1 he's revealed himself. Everybody does know he exists.
Okay, so
That's
the
so
next
it,
question.
according to my worldview, it is without question that he exists.
So then the next logical question for me would be, why would I care what the Bible says? Or why should I care what the
Well,
Bible says?
well, I wouldn't expect you to care because you love your sin more than you love God. Like you hate God, and the natural man in his unregenerate state hates God. So of course you're not going to want to, or even like, or even care with what His Word has to say.
Okay, a better question would be, why should I believe that the Bible is true?
Why should you? Why
Because if you're
should well you should believe you should believe first. I mean, you should believe that God. You should stop suppressing the truth and righteousness and acknowledge that God is who He says He is. And then once you realize that God is who He says He is, you know that His word is true. His word is self-attesting.
okay, and I understand that claim, but that is a claim that needs to be demonstrated, though. You can't, if you're making that claim, and then if your rebuttal, okay, so you're stating a claim that X, right? And then I go, okay, demonstrate that claim. Um, I'm not saying necessarily with evidence. You can make argumentation or whatever, and your rebuttal is, well, if he doesn't, then you have to account for this other thing. That's not a rebuttal, and it's
Well,
not support for your position.
the thing is, what the way we prove that you know God exists is when we talk about worldviews, we discuss which worldview comports with reality, which worldview has the necessary preconditions to account that can logically explain such things as morality, ethics, logic, existence, and stuff like that. According to my worldview, I can account for those things. According to your world,
So,
like,
so the
like I asked you, how do you account for morality according to your worldview? How do you know what's good and
right,
evil?
but you're the
How can you make any kind of claims of what's good and evil according to your worldview?
but you're asking those questions. This is the problem that I have with precept, because whenever they're asked to, they make a bunch of claims. This is the problem in a nutshell. There's a bunch of claims that are made. They make X, Y, Z. You can't account for this. You should account for whatever. And then when you go, that's awesome. I'm totally on board with hearing what you have to say about it. You go, not you, but a preceptor will go, well, but how do you know what's true? And it to me, this is what I kind of I told Ronald. I said I believe um, a lot of the precept methodology is a really dishonest argumentation method because of that reason. So
Are you talking
it's it,
side of one side does that stupid like
I
ask
can't.
people does that stupid thing where he asks people, could you be wrong with everything you claim to know? And then when they say yes,
Well,
then he says, well, how do you know?
because so I'll put it this way. So when you ask me these questions, right? How do you even make a thought in your head, or how do you know where morality comes from? You, you're jumping. It's a jump ahead because you're basing those questions off of something you haven't established. So if I reject your foundation, then those questions don't. We're not even at that level yet.
But the thing is, um, how do I explain it? Like, you can't, I mean, like, in order to have this discussion, we have to discuss like our worldviews. And once we establish, like, when we show you that your worldview can't account for those things, but the Christian worldview can, like, that proves that the Christian worldview better comports with reality more
Even
than the atheistic worldview.
even if you were to do that, even if you were to talk to somebody and someone says, you know what, I can't account for any of this stuff, hypothetically, your God theory doesn't win by default. You still, irregardless of what happens, you still need to demonstrate your claim,
We we prove that God exists again by the impossibility of the contrary,
and that would have to
and
be demonstrated. That's my point.
demonstrate it by showing you that the atheist or the unbeliever's worldview is absurd because they reject God. Like it says in
Yeah.
Romans 1, claiming to be wise, they became fools. and their thinking
But
became futile.
but okay, let me break it down another way. Um, you have two prongs of this, X and Y, right? So saying X is false does not make Y true. That's not how logic works. So, irregardless of what
No,
the
I
Bible
understand
says, what
that,
the
but I'm
okay,
talking
but that's what you're doing, though, David. You're saying if I can prove that your worldview is absurd, my worldview can better explain it.
no, but the
Therefore,
thing
it's
is,
true, and
we
it's
de-
not.
we demonstrate we demonstrate his that you know he exists by showing you that by rejecting him, your worldview is absurd.
That's
That's,
what a
that's why we
so,
say it's an impossible contrary, because unless you start with God, you can't know anything for certain.
and that's another claim that would need to be demonstrated, and you can't demonstrate that by. I don't think you can demonstrate that by um, showing one's worldview to be absurd or asking deep philosophical questions where the great thinkers in this freaking world have thought about for thousands of years and then go, well, my God explains everything because my God is an explanation for everything. And then apply that and think that people are going to buy it. It's not going to happen. I'll give you another. Do you watch the Atheist Experience at all?
Yeah, like yeah, I do. For I watch it. I honestly
There there was a caller that tried to do sort of junior precept kind of thing, and Russell Glasser's wife was on,
know
and
about
he was challenging her worldview, and she said, "My worldview is I went back in time and created the universe, and I created everything, and I don't have to demonstrate it because by you being here and you arguing with me, you're already proving that I did that." Is that any more or less sort of vacuous than just claiming that a god did it?
yes, it is, because if for that person to say that, okay, like first they have to show how, like, if they're claiming to be God, that they were actually God or whatever, they would have to
Oh no, she wasn't
first.
God. She
Well,
definitely said I'm not God. I'm just her. She said,
well, she said she went back in time and created everything that would make her God. She, God was
you're breaking up, dude.
according to
But the point being, having a panacea explanation for something is not is it's sufficient certainly, but it's certainly not demonstrated to. A necessary explanation needs to be demonstrated. You.
we demonstrate by showing you how our worldview comports with reality. And it's like if you ask me, how do I know what's how do I know what's right and wrong? I would tell you, because morality is
I,
God's
you're breaking
area
up,
of nature.
buddy.
I would say that morality, more specifically good, is descriptive of God's nature, because God is good. So when God gave the Ten Commandments, He was telling what.
I can't hear you, buddy. I lost you for like a good 7-8 seconds there.
I would like. Okay, I was saying, for instance, if you were to ask me, how do I know what's good and evil and wrong? You still can't
I,
hear me?
I'm catching just words here and there, but it's not making any coherent sense. And I want to make
Oh
sure that
shit. I,
I want to make sure that people can hear you. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Okay, let me try it one more time. I was
Start a
saying,
Kickstarter
like,
for
for
a new
instance,
computer.
right? I was saying, shoot, I just had a brain fart. Oh, okay, no, I was saying, like, if you would ask me, how do I know morality, or how do I count morality, good and evil, right and wrong, I would tell you that according to my worldview, morality, or specifically good, is descriptive of God's nature. Like, because God is good. Like, when He gave the Ten Commandments, He was just revealing to us what His nature was. Because And since we're made in God's image, have the laws in our heart, and that's how
David, I can't.
we know.
I'm sorry, man. Like it's just it's loot. You're just dropping. Um, I don't know what to say. I want to hear what you have to say, but I can't even hear you, and I'm sure the audience can't either.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Hello,
I'll just hello.
hello. I only got about 5, 10 more minutes anyway, but go for it. Do the best you can.
What would
I'm sorry, dude. Um, I don't. You're not coming out at all. Like there was no words there. Um,
really? Hold on,
yeah.
let me try doing something real quick. I'm gonna step out. Sometimes when I step outside, I have better signal.
All right. Because you seem like you have something that you really want to get out, and then as soon as you start talking, you go, okay.
Okay, is that better?
That is a little better.
Okay.
What service do you have?
Yeah, that's T-Mobile.
Ah, there's. I mentioned I had a friend that's watching. Yeah, T-Mobile, buddy. T-Mo.
I actually like T-Mobile.
So does he. He has T-Mobile.
Really? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I have Sprint, so we're always arguing with each other.
Really? Yeah, I've had Cricket. I've had Straight Talk. I've had Alltel back when before it got bought out by AT&T. Um, and I've had Metro PCS, and of all those, I like T-Mobile the best.
Gotcha. All right, brother, go for it because I only have a few more minutes.
Okay. Anyways, I was saying, like, for instance, if you were to ask me, how do I count? How do I, according to my worldview, how do I know what's right and wrong, good and evil? And I would tell you that according to the Christian worldview, good is a description of God's very nature. When he gave the Ten Commandments, he was just what his nature was to us. And since we're all made in God's image, it follows logically moral creatures, we would know, we would have the moral law stamped on our hearts. That's how we know. That's how we could say, we could look at something like the Holocaust and be justified in being outraged about it and say that was absolutely objectively wrong what they did to those Jews and other people that they didn't just do it to Jews. But we could say that according to an unbeliever's worldview, that says all morality is just relative and subjective. Can't say that.
But you understand that when somebody there's you're splitting up everybody's worldview in a dichotomy where it's a God belief or an unbeliever.
Well,
So
because
if somebody asks me about my worldview, and that has happened in the past where someone said, "Hey, what's your worldview?" My atheism is a part of my worldview. It is not the starting point of my worldview. Now I know you may disagree with that, but it's my worldview. So
I understand that, but the reason why I'm doing this is because, like I said, there's really, in a sense, only two worldviews out there. There's the Christian worldview, and then there's the unbeliever or the rebel or the person that's in rebellion. And like I said, that rebellion comes into either flat
but
out ism or an
but
idolatry.
but you just created a false dichotomy because there's more. We already know that there's more than the Christian worldview and an atheist worldview. There's also a Hindu worldview and a pagan worldview and a wicked worldview and
And
to simply wait, one
like
second. But you
I'll,
don't. But what?
I'd be happy to talk to any of those. Like for instance, I'm going to be doing a debate with a Roman Catholic pretty soon, and
No, but
I
my
which I would show them too how their worldview is absurd and how they
I mean,
actually do know
and that's
that that God does exist, and they're just living in unright, and they're also suppressing the truth and
right.
unright.
Okay, and I understand what you're saying. But my point is that you can't say that there's only two worldviews and then I name like seven, and then you go, oh, but there are others, and they're wrong too. So
Well,
it's the claim that the claim that you can that everyone else is living in sin and they're and in righteousness and they're suppressing the truth. That is I can't imagine a more large and heavy burden of proof that one has accepted. So if I was to say to you, first of all, I would never ask you in that way, how do you know what's right or wrong, good or evil, in that sense, in the same sense you're asking it, right? I would say if I had an argument myself for a standard or arbiter of what's good or evil, I would give you that argument. I wouldn't go on to ask you questions and try to um, and try to trap you into.
give you the Christian defense for how we know right and wrong, good and evil. I did
Gotcha.
give that to you.
If I
Just say I didn't just like flat out say, oh well, you can't account for that. No, I gave you our
right,
justification
you did,
first.
you did. I'm not saying. Okay, let me rephrase. I didn't mean you specifically. I meant like other pre-suffers I've encountered, not you. Not. I don't want. I got to be fair to you. You did say that, but I also had an argument where I had the same. If you replace this is also another issue. You're stating a sufficient explanation for these things, but not a necessary explanation for these things. So when this is often brought up, it's often brought up in this way. They say, well, how do you know it's God, not Thor or Odin or whatever, blah blah. And then the pre-suffer tends to say, well, I don't. Do you believe in those? Because if you don't, I don't want to argue what you don't believe in. I want to argue what you do believe in. Right? Have you heard that?
Yeah, yeah, I understand
Okay.
that.
But it
And,
doesn't but it doesn't take away from the point. Like, and this is the problem that I have with pre-suffers. I mean, and I don't. I'm asking you this question, but I don't mean it to sound like I'm demeaning you. That's not what I'm doing. Okay, I'm just. But have you ever taken a first semester or a year one logic and critical think like a college logic and critical thinking class?
yeah,
Did you? Okay, because that really helped me sort of discern. Most people haven't, and when you start learning about certain concepts like burdens and stuff like that, I'm surprised because that's where I learned about fallacies and syllogisms and all that stuff.
that's where I got it too.
And I would never when someone says I have a precept argument, right? Like an argument, I'm expecting to hear, okay, here is my argument for the existence of God. God is the starting point for all that exists, and he's responsible. He's responsible for the rules of intelligibility to a point where you can't even make an argument about. You would state, here are my premises, this and that, blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
so just from that for an argument to be valid and sound, which is in form and form structure and truth, the premises have to be established to be true for that to happen, and that's where I get stuck. So
I do understand. Like just because an argument is valid, it doesn't necessarily mean that the argument is sound. Like I do
right,
understand
so
that too.
okay, cool, all right, cool. You'd be surprised, dude, because you're already ahead of the game. Because a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. But okay, so given that, this is why I find the questions about turning the questions onto your opponent to be um, I reject those questions out of hand, not because I can't answer them, but because you haven't established your premises to be true to begin with. And if that's done, then I can get to the questions about my worldview. But my worldview is irrelevant to demonstrating the soundness of your position.
I understand that. That's why before I ask those questions, I do like to explain how my worldview would answer those questions. And just first, I turn around and I'll ask the atheist or the unbeliever, okay, now, since I gave you my argument for I can account for those things according to my worldview. Now, how do you account for those things according to your worldview?
Right, but no. But what I'm saying is, I'm not. I wouldn't be simply asking you, what you believe to be true. I'm asking you to demonstrate the premises to, in fact, be true. And that's why we can't get to me, because you haven't established any a sound argument as of yet.
I showed I explained it to you by showing you how it if my worldview is true, then it can account for those things. It can without God, how you cannot you have no explanation for how you know good and evil. How you can't account for logic. You can't account for any of those.
But ifs, I
So
don't.
that's why
Ifs are irrelevant to me.
God is a necessary precondition.
I understand that you say that, but I'm saying that, see, and that's where we're going to have a disconnect, because I understand that you're going to say, if my God exists, he can account for it. And I believe X, and so now I laid out what I believe, and I laid out why I believe it. I laid out why it accounts for these things. Now let's look at yours, and I get that you believe that, but until you establish that to in fact be true, then we're never going to get past that point.
The way to establish that it's true is to show you, again, you determine which worldview better comports with the reality around us.
That is not an effective way to determine what is in fact true, and you should know that.
How is that not?
Because neither one of those, comparing two anythings, comparing to two worldviews and going, well, mine accounts for more or mine accounts for it better, doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean either one of them are true, as a matter of fact. But you know what I mean? It has to be established
Well,
to be true.
um, like I mean, there has to be truth. In order to even have this discussion, there has to be truth.
Define truth.
Define truth.
And that's in that context, just so we're on the same page, just for clarity. I'm not trying to trap you. I just don't know what you're talking about.
In order for something to be true, it would have to. Shoot, I gave an explanation for it.
Because if you say if it has something to do with God, then I'm gonna reject that definition. You see what I'm saying? So I can't accept even that definition. Oh, okay, all right.
In order for something to be true, it has to be justified.
If you're going by the more classical definition of justified true belief, along those lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, I'm just about at my hour, dude. So I do have to go. But
Okay.
if you'd like to continue this another time, that'd be great. You just have to do it outside because I can actually hear you out here.
I'd like to continue this conversation another
I can
time.
hear you and I can see you, and that's great. So okay, well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm glad this didn't get like weird and where some of the other hangouts where people get all angry at each other.
yeah, I am too. And the reason why I said I want I'm no longer gonna do hangouts where there's a bunch of people in because from my experience it's just one big clusterfuck.
I was about to say that actually. See, we have more in common than you think, dude. I was about to literally say clusterfuck. Well, the problem with a lot of the big rooms is that you have a bunch of people that want to get stuff out, and normally it's like 2, 3 people that never say anything because everyone else is doing all the talking. There's a lot of arguing and over talking, and I just don't find it very productive. Because at the end of the day, do they know any more about David or heathen than if we're just yelling at each other? No. And quite frankly, when I talk to religious people in my personal life, I'm exactly the same way. So, many people want me to come out, and many people know me know I'm loud and I'm sarcastic and I'm a dickhead, and I'm not politically correct at all. But in this context, right? Like, where would that get us? So,
Exactly. That's yeah, you and me. Like I can relate to you on that too, because a lot of people that know me, they know I'm pretty much the same way. They even call me. They say I'm an asshole all the time because I'm
yeah,
sarcastic. I
yeah,
tend to
we've had
I get very passionate, and so like sometimes I get like kind of overbearing. But yeah.
right. Well, it also helps that I can hear you, so we're not over talking each other. So
Oh yeah, that's true.
that helps because I would start and then I would hear like, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? So, anyway,
Oh,
thanks, David. Enjoy that Colorado weather.
oh yeah, it's actually really hot out right now.
Oh, how hot is it out there?
I don't know. I just know that when I was walking to the store, I was wishing I had a water bottle with me.
Oh no shit. Okay, because it's like 70 something
It
out
it's
here.
hot as California, because I know you guys get like up in the triple digits.
Nah,
We
it's
get
like
like up in the 90s.
oh okay. It's not that bad out here. It's about it'll peak about 77, so we're good. So, all right, David. What
When
you
I was
have a
living in
great Fourth of July, buddy. I got.
Boston.
I'm gonna go
Yeah,
bail. Have a good one.
uh,